In the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't a whole lot of competition in the luxury sedan market. It was stagnant because it was dominated by the same two companies, mainly Mercedes and BMW. And whenever you have monopoly, you have lack of competition, which creates lack of innovation. Toyota was looking at this market and they thought they can do better, and they did. What's up guys, you're watching Amateur Enthusiasm. This is my daily. It's a 1997 Toyota Celsior. So we're gonna go ahead and call this one a first generation post-facelift LS400. This is not an LS430, which that came out in 2001. This is an LS400 after they updated the engine and the front bumper and a few other things. There's a few little quirks about it that are different from the older LS400. So Lexus is Toyota's luxury brand. That's pretty common knowledge. I think a lot of people understand that. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the Lexus brand was designed for this car. The LS400 is essentially the car that spawned Lexus. So they said, we need to make a whole new brand so that we can get into this market without the preconceptions of our current brand. They began Project F1, which is a really cool name. Much less cool is the other name for it, which was Circle F. The F stands for flagship. Now a flagship car is essentially the top production model available to the brand. It's intended to be like the penthouse of that car company. It's supposed to be the highest level, the end goal, the best, the most expensive. Not to be confused with a halo car, which is essentially a marketing stunt intended to create hype at a negative profit. They're not making money on halo cars. They just intended to create a lot of hype about the brand to get people to buy the other products, like Tesla. Think about the business of making cars. They often do partnerships and shared chassis and that kind of thing, shared engines. Toyota didn't do any of that. Toyota said, we're gonna make a whole new brand, we're gonna make a whole new car. It doesn't use any Toyota parts. They could have just facelifted a Crown, which was at that point, Toyota's flagship version of this. But they said, no, we're gonna do it all from the ground up. Every part of this car is unique to this car and was created for this car. And they were able to do it cheaper than any of the other luxury brands because of economy and value of currency and being new to the market. There's a lot of things going on there. But they were so much cheaper than its competitors like the S-Class that they accused Toyota of intentionally tanking their profits to steal the market. Movie gallery, anybody? It's a four-door, full-size sedan that seats 5 people. It weighs 3,600 pounds, has a 4-liter dual overhead cam V8, producing 290 horsepower and 296 foot-pounds of torque. Made it to a 5-speed automatic transmission. That puts its power-to-weight ratio around 12.5 horsepower per pound. That's really hard to say, which is pretty respectable, and its 0 to 60 time is about 6.1 seconds. So let's start at the back. This particular Celsior is dark green mica, which pretty much looks black most of the time. One thing that I thought was very interesting, and I didn't know this until JDM Masters pointed it out to me, that the font here on the Celsior is the exact same font as the Lexus, even though this is a Toyota. And the reason for that is, of course, that Lexus was designed for this car, and as a bit of a homage to that, they used the Lexus font for the Celsior name. Nowhere else is there a reference to Lexus on this car, just that. There's nothing here offensive. There's not a lot of sharp edges. There's not a lot of aggressive lines like you might find in the newer Lexuses. And it's with that mindset that they deleted the antenna and they built it into the rear window. It's all these lines, you've probably seen it before, but at the time it was pretty new technology, and I quite like that I don't have antenna. Like my Miata, it's broken. Anyway, when I picked this car up, I put 4 wheels in the trunk. You can probably fit 2 people in this trunk. It's absolutely massive. Let's have a look. The goal of a luxury car is to isolate the driver from the craziness of life. And when you're living in a city like Tokyo, that becomes even more important. To that end, they have put double pane glass in this car, which I thought was pretty exceptional because even houses today in Japan often have single pane glass. So it isolates the passenger and the driver from everything that's going on the outside, and you can keep the temperature more controlled. When the LS400 first came out, it came with directional wheels, not tires, directional wheels. So normally when you have tires, right, the tread, depends on the tire, but the tread will be directional. So you can only put it on the certain side of the car that the tread would be effective at. That's why you have to make sure that you mark your tires when you're mounting your tires. Check out my tire mounting video. But Lexus took it a step further and made a wheel for each individual corner of the car to maximize the smoothness and balance of the driving experience. Now, I'm not sure if this one has those wheels because I can't find the markings on it anywhere, but I do know that the previous version of the LS400, before they did the facelift and the VVTi, did. The wheels on this car are pretty small. They're about 15s or 16s. And what that does is it allows for a much heavier, much meatier sidewall, and that allows a much smoother ride. A lot of people forget that the first part of your suspension is your tire sidewall. That's a really important part. And that's exactly why I'm not going to be slamming this thing on 20s and low profiles, maybe 18s. Because this is the facelifted version, the headlights are starting to show the curviness that became popular in the 2000s. They took a little bit of the boxiness out, but it's still largely a kind of a boxy chassis design. They also moved the turn signal up top. It's integrated into the headlight. And you'll notice here, there is a little antenna here. This is not a radio antenna, this is a fender pole. This comes out and it allows you to see where the edge of the car is on a left turn because Tokyo streets are so tight. And this is something that I use every day. This engine is the 1UZ-FE with the VVTi technology in it, which was added in '97 in Japan, and I believe America got it in '98. VVTi stands for Variable Valve Timing with Intelligence. And what it does is it allows the valves to change their timing, as you might assume from the name, to increase performance. It was first revealed in an engine that you might be familiar with called the 1JZ. This system, along with other things that they changed, brought the engine up from its previous 250 horsepower to what it currently has, 290. This one has an aluminum block, which distinguishes itself differently from some other low revving, high torque uses of the engine, because that one has a cast iron block, which adds weight and durability. Yes, it's kind of the similar engine that you might find in a Tacoma or something along those lines, but it's also not. It has its roots in IndyCar racing, actually. They wanted to use this in the GT500 cars, ended up not doing so. It still has the 6-bolt cross mains and over square configuration that's indicative of that intent. When it launched, the first iteration of it in '89, they had a bit of a marketing gimmick that was pretty impressive, if you ask me, and it's still impressive to this day. To emphasize the smoothness and luxury of this engine, they put wine glasses on the engine and on the roof. They did a 3-tier tower on the roof and 1 on the engine. And they filled them up to the brim and started the engine and drove it at 180 kilometers an hour on rollers, and it didn't spill a drop. That's impressive. And the reason why is it has hydraulic motor mounts, not rubber ones like the Miata, which I need to replace and haven't yet. Let's do it and see if it still works. Every time I do that, I giggle because that's so cool. 23 years later, the engine still won't spill a drop. And you saw how full that was. I'm not faking this. This is a real thing. I didn't know this was a thing until JDM Masters showed it to me. And even then, I still didn't believe it until we did it. And yes, it is that smooth. See if we can figure out how to do these interior shots without a GoPro. I see now why they use GoPros. Okay. That thing is filthy. Right on my face, really? When you're buying a luxury sedan, let's be honest, your primary concern is the interior of the car. I'm not a big fan of the way the leather looks and feels. Nothing makes a car look more dated than old, cracked leather. And in Japan, leather was typically seen as less luxurious than cloth, or in this case, wool. These seats are wool. And the advantage there is it doesn't make a lot of noise when you sit in it. And Tokyo has really extreme climates. It gets really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. The last thing you want to do is sit in a burning seat. In July of '97, the CF package came out for this car. This is not that, because this is an April of '97 Celsior. But it has a lot of the same stuff that a CF package would have, except it's wool seats, not leather seats. So all the seats are all electronic. Everything's electronic. You have electronic lumbar adjustment, electronic height adjustment, electronic front forward, your normal stuff. And it has seat memory buttons, one for the driver and one for the owner. One thing that's particularly interesting about this car is it also has electronic seatbelt height adjustment, which seems unnecessary to me. I've never once in any car that I've ever driven felt the need to adjust the height that my seatbelt goes to when it connects to the B pillar. But there you have it in case you want it. I don't know if you might even be able to see it. It has a TV, which doesn't work right now. The frequencies are different. Like when this was made, it's the TV that they use for cars nowadays is different. This is where you can adjust the air conditioning. It's a touch screen, so I can just... Let's go to the radio. So it has saved radio settings, a cassette player, which I'm pretty appreciative of. It's got another ashtray that I use to keep my sunglasses. Traction control. Let's go to the navigation. Yeah, so it's got navigation there. Pretty dated. I don't trust it, and I can't read it, so. You can actually change fade, not just front and back, but you can left, right, rear, all that, and then you can fade the audio that way. And the CD player is right here. Now this is pretty interesting, I think. First of all, I couldn't figure out what this cubby was for, and then I realized it's for CDs. This is the CD, 6-disc CD player. And I couldn't figure out how this thing works, because I've only ever seen 6-disc CD players where you plug it in, and then it crunches up all the CDs and it disappears and does its magic. But no, this one is much more old school than that. It's got, let's see if I can find it here one-handed. You hit this, and that allows you to pull out one of the discs, like that. So each individual one, you put the CD in, take your CD player, plug it in here, and it starts reading for discs. Now, my CD player is broken or dirty, I'm not sure which. So I can't show you the supposedly incredible speaker sound system that came in these cars out of factory. It was supposed to be incredible. Yeah, I had the radio and the speakers and they all work. It's just, it doesn't carry over the quality, of course. This particular car, it looks like they installed a backup camera. This is actually a pretty nice model, as I understand. And there's a kill switch on the other side, I'm assuming to override the TV. This camera is still here, but I have no idea how to get this to work. So I'm assuming he either replaced this whole unit with something aftermarket, which I don't quite know how he would do that because all the air conditioning and everything comes through that, or he found a way to hack the screen somehow. All right, so on the right side of the car, I've got a coin drawer with a light on it, and it's actually very satisfying to use. I don't use it, but like, I just love opening and closing it. It's got folding mirrors and heated mirrors. It's got electronic mirror adjustments. Now these two are pretty normal, but heated mirrors is a little extra, a little something special for this car. The other two are pretty common in Japan because the roads are so tight that you really just have to get into parking spaces and that kind of thing. One other interesting thing here is in modern cars these days, you'll have a valet system, and with a valet system, it usually locks the trunk or certain parts of the car, or just makes it more secure so the valet doesn't go rooting through your rich people things while they park the car for you. The Celsior, or LS400, found a unique way to do this before that kind of technology became a thing. And they basically have a lock right here and then your two latches for your gas tank and your trunk. And hood's down here. And I wonder if the hood actually, I'm pretty sure the hood will secure as well. And you just latch it and it just keeps you from using the latches. So it doesn't, it's not electronic or anything. It's really rudimentary, but it is effective. So over here we have a switch for the fender pull, and I really like this because it shows me the corner of the car, and in these tight streets when you're making a right turn, it's hard to judge where the leftmost corner of your car is sometimes, and that pull comes up and shows you exactly where that is. It's wonderful. It even has a nice little blue light that comes on when you turn the headlights on so you can see it at night. This button is for the curtains. Yes, that's right, the curtains. The driver can open and close the rear curtains electronically to offer some privacy to the passengers. It's also not uncommon to see these curtains on the side windows for this purpose, and I intend to get some. They also open automatically when you put the car in reverse, which I quite like. So over here in the transmission tunnel, we have ECT modes. This is electronic controlled transmission. One for snow, one for power, and basically it changes where the torque goes in the gearing. So lower torque, lower res for snow, so you can get more grip down, and then the opposite for more power. Over here is the ride height that's adjustable with the factory air suspension, which is quite nice. And this is a security thing that keeps it from putting it in gear. My personal favorite though is this guy right here. Let me paint you a picture. You work in Tokyo, it's in the middle of the summer, you're in a suit all day, it's 100% humidity and about 100 degrees. Tokyo is essentially a concrete jungle, right? So there's no grass or anything, so it's kind of like an oven. Everything just radiates heat and it just reflects it back at you. It's miserable. You go to your car, you're trying to go home, and it's been sitting out in the sun all day baking. The last thing you want to do is sit in hot black leather seats that have been baking all day long. How about some nice cool wool seats with a vent pointed directly at your nethers? So from the back seat, you kind of can control much of everything about the car. You can control the height and angle of your headrest. You can control the vibration massage function, the seat heaters, the volume, the air conditioning. You can even control the front passenger seat settings, which I feel like is a little trolly, but watch. Oh, I got dirt on my knee. It goes all the way up, and the headrest drops out of the way so that the passenger can see where you're going. Much more legroom now. And then this is my favorite part right here. So now you can see where you're going. This is your view. This is your view as the passenger. But it gets better. You can recline. A fair bit too. Like that's not just like a small movement. That's a solid 3 inches or so of reclination. Of reclinement. It's also got a Celsior branded Walkman, which I think is pretty cool. Not that I'll ever use it. The theme of wood trim does continue back here, and it doesn't, one thing I like about it is it doesn't seem like cheap wood trim like you would find in, I don't know, grandma's car that's been sitting in her garage forever neglected and it's peeling off. This doesn't feel like a sticker to me. It feels like actual wood. And the same goes all the way across the board for the ashtrays and the trim around the buttons. There's 2 ashtrays back here. This car has 3 ashtrays in it. 3 ashtrays in this car. That's almost as many ashtrays as it has cup holders. It's got floor vents here, which are quite nice. And then it's got a vent up here too, which I think is pretty interesting. And this reading light is actually connected back here to look at whatever you're looking at. And now I can see my important business documents. This is the ETC card reader. It's built into the car, which I think is pretty cool. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. The mirror has an auto day and night function, and the glove box is double. Ooh, that's my lunch. So it's got a double glove box. So this is where I keep keys for various cars, right? But it's also got a much deeper version. And all this stuff was already in the car when I bought it. So that's pretty interesting. Tells you about a little bit about the people who buy this car. So this car, from looking at these, it is from Kyoto. These are driving safe good luck charms from a shrine in Kyoto, and it's really bad luck to throw these away or to have them when they're not yours. So I need to take these to a shrine to dispose of them properly. Also has golf tee markers, which is appropriate. Oh, those are mine. One last thing that I think is quite nice that I can't show you right now is all the seat belts have little lights. So, and these lights, when you exit the car, they stay on until you lock the car. I think that's pretty cool. It's completely unnecessary, but very cool. Got the original Celsior floor mats. I guess this is like another visor to go above the mirror there, which, wow. And then of course these mirrors. Oh yeah, there's my Curry shirt. So let's talk about the driving experience. The Toyota Celsior does everything that you would expect a luxury sedan to do. It isolates you from the uncomfortable noise of the environment around you. It's quiet, it's smooth, and it doesn't ask for much. The engine, when you're accelerating, it's not crazy fast, but it's geared in such a way that it has this smooth inevitability about it. It feels like you always have the torque right there ready for you without the transmission distracting you with gearing or anything like that, or dropping down a gear, the engine coming up or something along those lines. It's just smooth. It's wonderful. The steering on it is really impressive, honestly. Much better than I expected. The Vamos, for example, the steering ratio was awful. You had to spin the wheel like 1,000 times, and it had so much power steering you couldn't feel anything that was going on. I would think in a luxury sedan like this there would be less steering feel, but I was pleasantly surprised. The steering is smooth. It's muted. It doesn't come banging on your door, but it does let you know it's there. You can feel where the tires are at when the pavement changes. You can feel those things happening as you're going, which is really helpful on these small Tokyo streets, because a lot of times you have to get all the way to the edge to where you can feel the pavement start to go away so that you can let a car pass on the other way. Honestly, it's really exceptional, which makes sense because when Best Motoring covered it, when it came out, they raved about it as better driving dynamics than the Mercedes S-Class or any of its competitors. It was exceptional, and to this day it's still exceptional. You can tell that there's not a lot of noise coming into the cabin. It's pleasant. Even the turn signal is muted and refined. So I think that just about covers it. This is my Toyota Celsior. If you like this video and you want me to do more videos like this, let me know and I'll give it a go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching. This is the facelifted version. The headlights got a little bit curvier. You'll see they're quite a bit different from the boxier ones of the older LS400s that are now importable to the States. That bird is huge. Why is it so big? Crows in Japan are next level.